Hey guys, how's it going? Laura with Garden Answer. Today I wanted to talk to you about Holly-tone fertilizer. So basically what it is and how to use it out in your garden, because I use a ton of it out in mine. So it's a natural and organic fertilizer that's not just for hollies. It's actually good for all acid-loving plants like blueberries, camellias, rhododendrons, evergreens, hydrangeas. We'll actually leave a more complete list of plants at the end of this video if you're interested in looking that over to see if you have any of those plants in your garden that could use this type of fertilizer. So first of all, you want to apply Holly-tone twice a year, early in the spring and again in late fall. The difference is in late fall, you'll just give half the amount of fertilizer. So now I want to go out into my garden and show you how to apply this to different types of plants. I want to show you on this blue spruce first. This falls under the tree category, and there are instructions on the back of the bag for every category of plants that you might have in your garden. Basically what you do is you figure out the diameter of the trunk of your tree, and then you give 1 pound of fertilizer for every inch that you've got. So to figure out the diameter, all you do is you measure from one side of the trunk to the other side of the trunk. So it looks like I've got about 1.5 inches trunk here, which means I'll give about 4.5 cups of fertilizer. I like to apply the fertilizer using my drill with a hole auger. So I'm going to drill holes every 2 to 3 feet around the drip line of the plant, which is basically where the canopy of the tree ends. Then I'll take the fertilizer that I have measured out and I'll evenly divide it among the holes. I'll backfill them with soil and then water it in really well. As a side note, there are 2 very common types of evergreens that prefer a non-acid based type fertilizer, and those are arborvitaes and boxwoods, and you would want to use Plant-tone on those rather than Holly-tone. Shrubs are quite a bit easier to apply the fertilizer to because there's no digging required. All you have to do is apply 1 cup of fertilizer for every foot of branch diameter. So I'm guessing that this hydrangea is probably about 2.5 feet wide. So I'm going to use 2.5 cups of fertilizer. I'm going to sprinkle it around the drip line of the plant. I'll work it in with my fingers and then water it in really well. For established beds, it's super simple to apply. All you need to do is use about 5 pounds of fertilizer for every 100 square feet that you've already got. And by established garden beds, I mean an area where you've already got plants in there. I've got strawberries here. So this area is only about 4 by 4, which is 16 square feet. So I'm only going to need to use about 2.5 cups of fertilizer. So I'll measure it out and then I'll try to, as evenly as possible, sprinkle it around the area where my plants are, and then I'll water it in. Now for new garden beds where you have nothing planted and you're just preparing the soil for planting, you actually use twice the amount of fertilizer. So for 100 square feet, you would use roughly 30 cups or 10 pounds of fertilizer, and you work it into the top 4 inches of soil, and that gets your soil all prepped. Now there might be other instances where you're using Holly-tone in containers, like I have blueberries in containers, and what you do is you use 1 teaspoon of Holly-tone for every 3 inches of pot diameter. I've got my blueberries in about a 20-inch pot, so I use roughly 7 teaspoons of Holly-tone, and I just sprinkle it right along the outer edge of the pot, inside the pot on top of the soil, and then water it in. So hopefully this video was helpful, just seeing a few examples of how you should use Holly-tone out in your garden and on what plants you should be using it on. So thank you guys so much for watching, and good luck with your plants.